Story 2. When I was 6, I allowed a person to live in my head, and she's still there. When I was around 3 years old, a strange rule got into effect in my dreams. I was no longer allowed to touch a ceiling. The penalty for doing so was an immediate and terrible nightmare. I often had a normal dream about being in a normal room, but I would suddenly start to float up. I'd hang onto the doorknobs or furniture for dear life to prevent myself from touching the ceiling. But the pull would almost always be too strong. And just like that, a normal dream would turn into a dark hell of death, torture, and horror. It worsened and eventually happened almost every night. At the age of 6, I dreamed I was playing with my friends in the living room and was really enjoying myself. Then I started to float. This time, I wasn't scared, but just really pissed off at the rule for ruining my dream again. I thought, all right, bring it on then, and actually jumped towards the ceiling. This time, however, I broke through it. It didn't trigger a nightmare, but I ended up in some sort of temple hall lit by moonlight sky only. It was completely empty, except for a girl my age, with black hair standing in the middle. She was really startled by my suddenly being there. I confronted her, asking if she's the one giving me the nightmares. She nodded, and I immediately got angry, shouted at her, and told her I ought to slap her for ruining so many of my nights. Demanded her to get the fuck out forever. I calmed down and I noticed she began to sob. Oh. She explained that she's someone who began to exist without having been born.
Is this propaganda?
That is how that sentence read, I would say. Let's continue and see if it is.
And how that's an ultimate kind of misery that can never be fathomed, and by people who had the privilege to be alive in order to exist.
Huh?
The existence of people like me is always bound to life. The only way for someone like her to ever experience a living existence is by hijacking a person's mind like a parasite, causing nightmares. She felt bad about the pain that causes, but at the same time couldn't bear the continuous misery of existing without life. I felt bad and had the feeling that her forcing her way in my mind is what caused the nightmares. So I gave her a hug and offered her willingly to live in my head and experience life through me. My childlike reasoning was like, why not just ask? She seemed extremely grateful and my dream ended. The nightmares were gone since. I had the occasional bad dream, like anyone, but not nearly as frequently anymore, and the ceiling rule was no longer in effect. I'm in my late 30s now. What's weird is that once every few years, I dream about visiting that same hall with that girl I allowed to live in my head. And she's even aged with me, so she's been a woman for quite a while now. We just talked about stuff, or my life, she piggybacks on. I remember going there once when I was depressed, and she assured me that she'd rather have the experience of a depressed life than existing without life altogether. She asked me to think of the loneliness of growing up in the world alone, then dial it up a notch and imagine not having even been conceived by two living beings, but being nothing more than the idea from nothing.
What?
I'm too down to earth to think about this on a supernatural level, but nonetheless, can't help but occasionally feeling a little paranoid about it, or this brief fleeting thought during an embarrassing moment of, oh man, what would she think? And then we have a couple of edits.
Let's go.
Okay, first edit. It's been awesome to read through the replies and discover all kinds of theories and perspectives, both psychologically and spiritually, that seem to fit this phenomenon. I've never thought of it as something other than a mythically flavored dream that copes with some existential stuff I worked or still work through. As I stated, I've always leaned heavily towards cold, hard logic. Grew up in a devout Catholic family, but lost my faith around the age of 7 because I felt like it didn't make enough sense to me. I can work with psychology though, which often enough can coexist just fine with spirituality. It's not a healthy sign for a child to have that many nightmares, and also not exactly normal to dream up such a sad, deeply existential entity. I can't really see the girl as a demon or manipulative, energetic parasite. The nightmares and the way they vanished reminded me of the movie Jacob's Ladder, where fear or acceptance of death decides whether you'll see demons tearing your life away or angels freeing you from your burdens. But I was a pretty lonely kid with 2 toxic, violent, and heavily negligent parents. basically children themselves, flipping out if I cried or showed the slightest sign of discontent. Always walking on eggshells at home, my presence was, at best, in the way. Acting out at school in an attempt to catch up with the attention I missed out on quickly marked me the difficult kid. I quickly learned to be as invisible as possible. IFS is mentioned in a number of replies, and I think that's really applicable here, similar to the schema theory. A child who is forbidden to feel is taught to not be alive either. For example, despite a long history of successful therapy, seeing 85 as the number of replies to this thread has been a major source of anxiety for me today because it conflicts with those must be invisible or stop whining rules that are burned into me. A dream where you stop being afraid of the inner child that wasn't allowed to a living existence and then to offer her life seems core self-induced schema therapy in that regard. Enter the spiritual approaches shared in this thread and still works. I mean, on one hand, you have a life in need to be wanted, and on the other hand, an entity who wants to live. No wonder the two would attract one another. Yup. At first, I was going to say OCD. I was like, the fear of doing something with these kind of intense repercussions if you do them. Something so silly as like touching the ceiling. Because I used to do the same thing. One of the things that I did when I was a kid, which we've talked about, is the grudge. The grudge has traumatized me.
Yeah.
But I always thought that if I ducked my head underwater when I was taking a bath as a kid, and my ears, like my ear holes where I could hear, went under the water, that I was going to get snatched up.
Oh, spooky.
And then there was like another, if I didn't stay in the bath until it completely drained, then the grudge was going to come kill my entire family.
Okay.
So there were like little things like that. And even now to this day, like there are like little things that I'm like, if you don't do it this exact way, your family's going to die. Everybody loves going to die.
Yeah.
Like, why?
Yeah.
Not saying that I have OCD, but that is a symptom. But that's immediately what I thought of. But then they went into the actual explanation, the scientific explanation, and that makes a lot more sense than when I was.
Makes a lot of sense. Like, as a child, you're not allowed to express your emotions. You're trapped inside of a room, and you can't metaphorically break through the ceiling. And then when you finally do, you're allowed to express that anger, and you find someone who just needs a friend, very similar to you. So yeah, I think that dream kind of unpacked a lot of things and continues to.
Yeah, no, that is very safe to say after reading the update and all the comments too. God, the brain is so interesting.
Yeah, how it chooses to like process and like cope or like not process at all and just make you live through that over and over again.
Yeah. Yeah.
In an attempt to process it. Wild.
That is wild. That's crazy.
Yeah, because like part of me is like anytime there's a dream story, I'm like, what's trying to get into your dreams? Is it something like
that's what I thought
more
too
sinister?
When it was like, can I live with you? I'm like,
yeah, I was about to say absolutely the fuck not.
No. But you wouldn't know that as a kid. And that's another thing is that those types of sleep demons, they prey on kids.
They do, yeah.
Because they're so moldable. What's the word?
Very vulnerable.
Yeah, vulnerable.
When I was a kid, because
When I was a young warthog.
when I was a young warthog, I used to have lots of nightmares. And so every night before I went to sleep, to not have my nightmare, I would like close my eyes and imagine like a big catalog of all of the dreams. And then you like pick which dream you wanted, and you would open your little bag of Sandman sand, and you would take that and sprinkle it into the corner of your eyes to make sure that you have good dreams, and you have to put it back.
That's
and then
really
you go to sleep.
funny because I also, not a catalog, but I also had like a movie selection where it's like, which one would you like to have tonight?
Yeah.
But mine wasn't Sandman. I would do the like counting sheep.
Oh, cute.
Yeah, but it's always purple sheep and yellow stars.
Yeah.
I still count
it's
sheep.
It's a purple bag.
Oh, that's cute.
With, yellow sand.
Oh, yeah.
So-
Wow, same.
So it's real.
Same. Oh.
We've gone to Slumberland.
Yeah, I still do that. Like whenever I'm trying to fall asleep and I really can't get my mind to settle down. This is great for people who need to settle your mind. I can't take my own advice because I didn't fall asleep till 3 or 4 in the morning.
Yeah.
So
I will say, me probably picking what I want to dream about is why I just like lay in bed now and just think about all these different scenarios, and why I have a terrible time with limerence, because like I need to make a movie in my head so I can fall asleep, but sometimes the movie's really good or a little bit too accurate. I'm like, and then what if they said this? And then I would say this, and then I don't sleep.
What's your weirdest dream not scary?
I had a dream one time that I was in high school and my boyfriend at the time got turned into a fish by a wizard, and so I had to sail across the 7 seas to try to find him. There was a war, we rode in on hamsters. I also have another one. Is it the same one? I think it was the same one, where I was in the seas, 7 seas, trying to find him, and I was on the Titanic, and it sunk, obviously. And as we were sinking down, we were really worried about it, but the ocean was only like this deep, so we could stand in it. But then all these whales started coming towards us, and they were like gonna smash us. But as they were about to roll on top of me, I was like, wait, whales are made out of blubber, so I'm just gonna absorb into their body and then pop out on the other side and be totally fine.
Yeah.
So that's what
Sound
happened.
logic, yeah.
I don't know if I ever saved my fish boyfriend.
Your recollection for detail is astounding. So I give you props on that. I was gonna say my weirdest one is I lived in a tunnel. There are like highway tunnels in Dallas specifically that I'm thinking of. They're not going underneath anything. They're just tunnels.
Yeah.
And they have a bunch of lights in it. But I lived in one, and like the edges were closed off. But I had like Polly Pockets and like Legos and like Ken, like from Barbie and Ken was my boyfriend.
Yeah.
But I also
Solid boyfriend.
Barbie was also my girlfriend, and I was a kid, mind you. And the Yeti was there, but like the Yeti from Monsters Inc.
Okay.
Yeah, that's pretty much all I remember.
Yeah.
So that's my weirdest one. I have a lot of scary ones. But
I've had a
that's
lot of scary ones.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of people being possessed.
I just am getting killed it a lot, or I get cheated on.
Lame.
Yeah, that's another really common one. It's like, why? I'm like, blame whatever chemicals up there.
You think I want this? No.
Yeah, right? I don't want to wake up every morning hating you.
No.
No, just kidding, babe. I don't ever wake up hating you. It always just makes me sad.
Yeah. Yep, this is wild. But yeah, I think your brain processing things. But how wild would it be if it's like actually just a little something?
A little, not a demon, but some sort of little like
Something else.
parasitical ghost.
Yeah.
Is that how you say that word? Parasitical.
I finally saw Parasite.
I was gonna say you have like one gold hair like going on this side. I keep looking at it. It's so cute. But anyway.
I finally saw Parasite because I was scared to see it alone.
Yeah,
because
that's fair.
I've heard it's like horrifying.
I've never seen it, so don't spoil it for me.
You could watch it alone. You will be fine.
Okay.
There's like one part where Lee's like, this is like the scariest shot I've ever seen in a movie. And it came up and like, I didn't know that was the part he was talking about. And I was like, haha. And then.
It just makes me think of the movie, The Boy. You know what I'm talking about? The one with the doll. His name was Brom. And it was actually an old like a guy that lived on the wall.
Yeah. Yeah. And see, I didn't even know that much going into it, so I was along for the ride.
Yeah, I mean, it's so old, it's kind of been spoiled for me. I mean, I don't know exactly what happens, but I know that somebody is living in the house.
Yeah, that's a part of it. Oh, I remember this. Yep.
Prom! Mm-hmm. It's a dumb movie.
It is a dumb movie, isn't it? I was like, okay, well, did we watch this together?
No, I saw it a long time ago.
Maybe I saw it with my sister. I don't know. Weird little movie.
What if it's that as a dream? It's just somebody living in your walls.
No!
Can you give me permission to just come live with you wherever you go? And you're like, yeah, sure, why not? And it just follows you around and it reads you stories at night, which is why you don't have nightmares anymore.
Right.
But sometimes it's like, hey, don't forget that I'm here.
Yeah.
I'm still here.
I'm still on the lease, right? You're not going to kick me out?
I saw that fucking slub that you brought in last week. Who is that?
Girl, what? You're better. We've talked about this.
Stand up. Stand up for yourself. Stop letting him treat you like garbage.
Thought we were done with him. We already cried.
And then you brought in 2 others? Where'd they come from? At the same time?
Hey, yo!
This is why I chose you.
And
he did what? I wonder if she, like, plays little smut books for her so she can kind of experience that on the other side.
That is a good question. Does she need that? If you're, like, existing in the spirit world, because there's, like...
If you're a ghost, do you still fuck?
There's, like, demons that will, like, have sex with people.
Yeah, but that's a demon. That's different.
But, like, I don't know if a ghost
Yeah.
does.
Ghost, if you're listening,
Hey,
do you have
George.
sex? If you're, like, with your partner, you died, like, next to them, and you're both haunting the same place, do you guys get a little freaky ghost action going on? What would it be called?
According to the show Ghosts, which is
Ghost?
the answer for everything,
Yeah.
the ghost can get freaky.
Whoa!
Yeah.
Okay, well, now I gotta watch Ghost, because I'm learning so
Honestly,
much.
it's a good show to, it's, like, cute. You could turn off your brain a little bit.
Yeah.
You
that's
watch them
when
get
I
into
need stuff
antics.
like that, yeah.
You don't actually have to pay that much attention.
Except for when the ghosts are blinking.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you enjoyed that little story, be sure to watch the full episode here.
And make sure you like, subscribe, and all that jazzy.
Jazzy? I see what you did there. Wait, what was that?